Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this very hot day. We truly appreciate you coming down all the way to Expo City. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I see some old faces and a couple of new ones as well. Just a couple of quick announcements. The washroom is over there on the left-hand side. So all you have to do is exit through that door and it's changing room 1. So that's that. The other thing I would like to request if we can keep our phones on silent because we'll have online participants joining us as well. So that's that. And of course, I think you see some yellow papers on there on the chair. I would really request if you can fill that in. And of course, the pen is yours to take back home. So I would also like to personally thank my counterparts, Elena at DJI and Besali at Flightbase for coming together all the way from India, from China, and making this workshop happen. And of course, our team over here at the Feds Group. And we are we're very happy to welcome you. And without boring you further, Scott, please take it away.
Thank you very much. Expect a bit more of an applause. Let's start again. I'm only kidding, don't worry. Thank you very much for being here today. It's great to see again some very familiar faces and some new faces. We're going to go and brief through what the Dock is going to bring in terms of technology and development. Right now we have one of our examples, which we're going to open and showcase today for you. Later on, after my discussion, we'll also be hosting a live demonstration. Don't worry, it's not going to take off. There's some worried faces in here. So the Dock will open and it's going to showcase the Matrice 30T series. So this is one of 2 examples that are currently available. You can have without or with the thermal solution. On the Dock itself, notice there is a small station which measures the wind and a small camera as well, which allows you to understand the environment before you take off. Perfect. And we have the Dock-enabled Matrice 30T drone. And we're good to go. So don't worry, we're not going to fly the drone inside today. This is all going to be for demonstrative purposes only. Just going to get my clicker to work. If we could go next slide. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Dock and what it brings to this region. So what is the Dock? It's a drone in the box solution, and it's as simple as that. It's taking the very best of DJI enterprise technology, and it's incorporating it inside of a Dock solution. Why is this the case? Well, it's autonomous, and we're looking to develop an autonomous platform which removes error. You introduce a human to a drone, and to a flight, and to a process that introduces more errors. Remove those errors, improve your automation. The great thing with the DJI Dock is it's not just the autonomous deployment solution, but it's an intelligence building platform as well. And what we mean by that is when you're building intelligence, you're improving future workflows as well. Sam, if you just move to the right, cheers. I think Sam's actually interfering with my reception. Typical, this worked this morning, and of course it doesn't work now. So if we can move to the next slide, Niv. Perfect, thank you very much. You can see his cursor moving. It's designed to work 24 hours a day. This can be operated remotely, anywhere in the world. So whether you have a team of developers, GIS specialists, there's no need to be on site. Using a URL, a login access, which is encrypted, the operator can use this system without the need for being on site. So this can be worked in rain nor shine. It is IP55 rated as well. So this can be used in this environment in particular. Next slide, Niv. Perfect, thank you. So this particular version operates with the Matrice 30 series drones. And the drone itself has a bespoke leg set, which charges the aircraft. And it also communicates with this aircraft as well. Each dock comes with a drone. So you don't buy the dock and then you buy the drone separately. So they're incorporated together. So we're going to look at some of the key features of this dock and why it makes it such a groundbreaking solution from DJI Enterprise. So look at some of those key features. First of all, it's integral as a design. So nothing needs to be bolted on or added. As a solution, it's ready to go. And it's using the very latest in open edge computing. And what we mean by that is you can integrate third-party solutions. You can program it to do something different. Giving you a few examples. Imagine oil and gas, and you detect a leak or a drop in pressure. You can program the system to collate with that third-party software solution and then fly to that location autonomously without the need of any intelligence. The drone itself is an intelligent platform. So you can work smarter and more autonomous. Again, removing the human from that situation may improve that solution. Support for private deployment. So again, we have our very good friends from Flightbase here today. The benefit with the dock is it allows you to introduce third-party software solutions to better improve your workflow processing. Out the box works very well, but many of you in here are worried about your data security. But thanks to Flightbase, they can provide much better data security by integrating it as an on-premises system. Control your data, no need to share it. Improve your control of your data. The temperature. Minus 35 is not really a problem for us. I think the worst temperature here was 5 degrees Celsius a long time ago, but it will operate up to 50 degrees Celsius. Now, of course, we know that it might go hotter than that if you leave the product outside, but don't worry, when this dock is enclosed, it air conditions the batteries. So the idea is longevity, sustainability, and capability in this environment. Furthermore, the weather station will determine the wind direction, the wind speed. It will also determine visually if there's a sandstorm, can you operate that drone? Traditional methods, you would send a team out to that location and you'd waste the resources, you'd waste the time. You can do this just through internet access. The operational radius is 7 kilometers from the dock itself. This allows you to strategically place docks along pipelines, in centers, for border patrol, maybe in cities down the line when we see a change in legislation. So it's important to note that these are just some of the features that are beneficial for using the dock. And if we can go next slide, please. Perfect, thank you. There is a fast charge time for the drone as well. 25 minutes to 90% from 10%. So if you need to continuously operate using this drone, there is minimal downtime. Traditionally, drones would take a long time to charge their batteries, but this offers a fast charge solution. Perfect. Cloud management. You can have a team who accesses that data from different places on planet Earth. As long as you have secure access to your information, you can share this data with a team. Whether this is a longitudinal or latitudinal direction using the laser rangefinder, or if it's visual information or video recordings, all that data is stored on your private or your cloud server and can be shared instantaneously, making faster decisions as an organization. And this is important to note, automation, improvement of productivity. And this is what the dock brings, complete cloud control. So whether you're using a cloud or whether you're using your private server, you have control of that data, and that is so important to note. The turnaround also allows you to continuously operate this drone, afforded by the improved battery solutions on this drone solution. So that will give you up to 400 cycles, 400 flights per dock. And because of the rapid turnaround of 25 minutes of flight time, you can make faster decisions than the traditional methods of sending your team off site. How long does that take? How many vehicles do you need? How long is the transportation time? The large coverage area is afforded by the OcuSync 3 transmission system. Similar frequency to that as Wi-Fi, but up to 7 kilometers radius, which is very impressive for such a remote system. You can leave that on site, and then you can delegate certain tasks over a very large area. I see this system as integral again along a pipeline, maybe in a control center for border patrol. The idea of integrating not just one sensor, but multiple sensors remotely gives you greater access to more data. A laser rangefinder, thermal camera, wide angle camera, 200 times zoom camera. So it gives you even greater capability at a touch of the button. And recently, DJI have updated their system so you can remote control the drone. No longer is it just autonomous. As an operator, you might want to delegate certain time to a point of interest, physically fly it through your interface on your computer. Very impressive. And we can show you this actually later on at some point when we're doing the demonstration, just the full control that we have. Next slide, please, Niv. Okay, so your typical Dock locations, we're going to go through 3 scenarios. We're going to first talk about first responders. We're then going to go through security patrols and then finally asset inspections. It's important to note that there are not just 1 or 2 or 3 use cases, there are many, but these are probably the most preferent that we want to talk about today. So we're going to go into first responders to start off. Next slide, please, Niv. Thank you. There are some typical challenges in certain scenarios. If here we're talking about maybe border patrol, or maybe we're talking about a missing person out at sea. So your challenges would be, how many resources do you need to delegate to find that person? Where is that person? Can you patrol it efficiently? Traditional methods don't allow you to have that information to hand. You may waste a lot of resources and not find that missing person. So in this example, a person missing offshore, we don't know where that person is. How many people do we need to apply to that resource? And based on that challenge, if we look at, Niv, if we can go next slide, please. If we look at the typical workflow of the Dock, this improves it exponentially. The call comes in, the Dock is deployed, the drone flies over a larger area in a shorter space of time, save lives. And it's proven. Drone technology is being used in these scenarios to improve the safety and to reduce the time it takes to find someone. Next slide, please, Niv. The benefits are much improved efficiency, less resources taken, more sensors to delegate to find that missing person. If you have a ground team, they're on the coast, you have to use your eyes, you have to use your visual, maybe binoculars. When you're using a drone, you have the ability to use that thermal, the visual sensors, the laser rangefinders, and you can track and target that subject much more effectively. And of course, the response time is key when you're trying to save lives. So this is very important. So we're going to talk about security patrol as well and what the typical challenges are. Of course, you have a lot of blind spots. It's very, how can I say, labor intensive. If you're patrolling a site, it takes a lot of time to physically walk up and down the channels. Maybe it's a oil and gas plant, maybe it is a border, maybe it is a government building, an office, and a team needs to be on the ground and traverse that area. It takes time, it's inefficient, there are blind spots. Once you complete that security patrol, you have to do it again and again. And this is a challenge, and this is what ourselves and what our dealers are talking about all the time with some of our clients. How do you overcome those challenges? We have one workflow example here, and we have a dock situated at the top, off-site, and we have an area of interest, which is highlighted in red. Imagine flying a drone in a routine patrol. You're mitigating risk for that ground team as well. If it's an oil and gas plant and you have maybe a leak, a drone will detect it and there'll be no risk to life. Whereas a person traversing that area, there is a risk to life. So that's important to note. But you can observe a much greater area in a shorter space of time. If that dock is deployed there, you can react immediately. There is a report of a disturbance. There's a report of a gas leak. There's a report of an issue at the border. So imagine these scenarios and understand why the DJI Dock is far more effective than a traditional ground team. because it overcomes all those challenges we mentioned before. Next slide, please, Niv. So security patrol is very important because in this region, this is one of the main discussion points for the DJI Dock, one of the main end users as to why this is a relevant technological improvement. The visibility is improved dramatically. Safety of those on the ground are improved dramatically. So it's much more cost effective than traditional methods, and this is important to note. Next slide, please, Niv. So we talked about security patrol. Now we're going to talk about challenges in the energy sector. And those challenges are multifaceted. So solar panels require a lot of maintenance or a lot of inspections, and some are over very great distances. A ground team takes time. There is no bird's eye perspective. Perhaps the efficiencies are lost because of the time that it takes to inspect these solar farms. So it's very labor intensive, it's very costly, it's very time consuming. And by the time you've done a full inspection, you might need to do it again. We've proven that drone technology works far more efficiently and effectively, and we've done it. Sister company Feds have provided many inspections using drone technology. And the great thing, not just because it's faster, but because it's more efficient. As an inspection specialist, you'll understand when you're trying to create a workflow of a site, you need to understand where those areas of interest are. So if we look at the workflow, we're going to first of all look at mission planning. Next slide, please, Niv. Thank you. The Dock allows you to create a mission plan remotely. So imagine that solar farm. Create an automated flight plan. Do it the first time, and every single time you need to inspect it will undertake the same mission time after time after time. Record and share that data immediately. When the drone is deployed, it's autonomous. So no need for that ground team to create new flight plans. This is all done automatically. It's synced on the cloud as well, or your private server, so that data is immediately available and you can process it much faster. But you can also create digital twins. And the benefit of that is, if you're a surveyor, you can then better understand panel A was defective, but where was that? Create the digital twin, 2D or 3D map, and understand better where the defective panels are to make faster judgment calls, replace, repair far more efficiently than your typical ground team. There's nothing worse than taking 10,000 images and trying to decipher where the defective panels are. We've seen that. It's a nightmare. People are still doing it. People are using pen and paper and trying to note down which panel is defective. It's crazy. So automation is, again, one of the key developments of the DJI Dock. The benefits are multifaceted. Next slide, please, Niv. But now you start to have a better picture as to why this technology is more applicable for these types of end users. Actually, one slide too far. So in terms of the benefits in these particular sectors, I'm like a parrot that's on repeat. Improved safety, better automation, reducing your risk, saving money, ultimately. And that's why we're here today. We're here to discuss why this particular system is so groundbreaking, because it changes everything. Our concept of using drone technology. Perfect. So this is the end of my first segue. I'm going to introduce you to Nitin, who's the CEO and founder of Flightbase. He's going to talk through his software platform, which works in collaboration with the DJI Dock. Perfect. Nitin, thank you very much. Take it away.
Thank you, Scott. Hello, everyone. I am Nitin. I am the founder and CEO of Flightbase. Let me check if this clicker, yeah, I think it's working. So let me give you a quick background to what Flightbase is. So Scott gave a very good introduction to the dock and highlighted all the key features and benefits of using a dock. But with an amazing hardware, you need an amazing software to actually realize the benefits of autonomy, because autonomy is not just from hardware, but you need a software that is able to really really extract that value from that hardware, really able to help you implement those workflows, those completely automated whatever solutions you need to design. And it could be using multiple docks, multiple drones, multiple sites, multiple users. So all those features are made available through software. And that is why, again, having a very powerful software coupled with a very powerful hardware is very critical to final deployment of this technology. So a quick background to FlightBase. So no, my personal background is I'm an aerospace engineer. I've been working in the drone industry for last 20 plus years, long before drones became this popular. So that time it was mostly for defense applications. So I graduated from University of Maryland in the US, worked for some DARPA projects in the US. So that is how I started working on drone autonomy, automation, autopilots, all of those things, all applied to defense technologies back then, 20 years ago. But about 10 years ago, we realized that this technology is going to take off in the commercial sector. And that is when we decided that, okay, let's focus on building the tech that will be required to power large scale deployments of drones for commercial use cases. And for the last 10 years, we have been super focused on just building software side of drone autonomy. And about 3 to 4 years ago, we realized that drone autonomy is going to be very, very powerful. And one of the most important fundamental blocks of drone autonomy is the dock. Because just think about any autonomous application. So by autonomy, we mean reducing human workload, right? You want to reduce human workload and automate stuff as much as possible. Now, for the very basic levels of autonomy, you need a dock. Because unless you have a dock, you need to send a person to charge the drone, to put the drone in the field, and it's hot out here. So just having a dock reduces so much human effort. No, you don't have to go out in the heat to put the drone on the ground. So all that is taken care of by the dock, right? So you can understand that for any kind of autonomous application, dock becomes a fundamental building block. It's the foundation of autonomy. Because once you have the dock, now you can imagine so many interesting applications. You can have a fleet of drones. They could be coordinating with each other. They could be integrated with your UTM and BVLOS flights. And you can have an amazing superstructure built on top of this foundation, right? So for this reason, for last 3 to 4 years, we decided to super specialize, go really deep into solving the integration of dock and drones through software, right? And we have invested a lot of time, effort, everything in perfecting that integration and making sure that we are able to use these docks for enterprise use cases. So our focus is on enterprise. We do not work on consumer, prosumer applications. We work only on enterprise applications. And let me give you a quick, this video will again help you see the power of software and how it is utilized for such applications. So this is a scenario of doing a security patrol. So you have a large facility and you need to do regular patrols. And now with the docking station, you can schedule your missions. You can say that I want this patrol done every day at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. or you want to do multiple patrols in a day, or it could be with multiple docks. And when it's time for the launch, automatically the system will run all the safety checks, will make sure that yes, your drone, dock, everything is healthy for the mission to execute. Your docking station will automatically open up. The drone will be launched. You will get live data from your missions. All this is also saved for your later analysis. You can integrate it with your analytics software. So you could have different kinds of analytics software, like for construction, maybe you're using Drone Deploy, or you're using Pix4D, or using Raptor Maps for solar farms. So there are different analytics software that are already available, and we integrate, we are able to plug your data back into your analysis software. And once the mission is done, the drone will come land precisely in your docking station. Docking station will close and it will start the maintenance process. So it will charge the batteries, make sure everything is healthy for the next flight. Right. So basically the key components of what we provide, one is APIs and integration. This is an important part for our enterprise customers. An enterprise customer is not planning to use docking stations or drones as a standalone system. They are trying to integrate it with their existing business, right? So they already have some applications, some software, or some workflows that they use, and now they want to make drones and docks a part of that existing workflow or existing process. That is why APIs and integrations becomes a very important aspect for enterprise customers. Then BVLOS regulations. So everybody, I hope, is aware what BVLOS is. It's beyond visual line of sight. That is when you're trying to operate your drones beyond visual line of sight, and you need to comply with certain aviation standards, aviation regulations in order to get that permission. And these standards are different for each country, each geography, but the fundamental tenets are the same. So fundamental requirements are that your aviation authorities want to ensure that everything is safe, right? So ensuring that you are able to build that safety case and present it to the aviation authorities is the key to get BVLOS. And data security, again, everybody is aware how important that is for enterprise customers, and I'll touch upon it in my later slides. But those are the fundamental aspects of a flight-based platform, or what flight-based platform brings in order to help these deployments for enterprise applications. So moving ahead, so BVLOS, I already touched upon this, and there are a lot of features in the software that we have built over a period of time. So we have been building this for last almost 3 to 4 years now, much before DJI Dock was announced, and we started working with a lot of docking station partners. So we have been working with about 15 different docking station partners, and that has helped us learn so much by working with these partners, working with customers. So we have already shipped few hundreds of these docks with our partners, and that has helped us understand what are they looking for, what kind of features are necessary for them to adopt these systems at scale. We have also learned a lot about the kind of objections or reservations that customers have, and we are happy to share those with them, because now as we start working together, trying to sell it to enterprise customers or help them understand the value of these systems, there will be certain pushbacks, there will be certain concerns, and that is where our understanding of how they think or what are their concerns and how to address them could become very useful. So BVLOS is of course a major concern, because none of your enterprise customers are getting this system for 1 or 2 units, right? So enterprise customers, like if they're using it for oil and gas, or they're using it for public safety, or using it for railway line inspections, power line inspections, you imagine any such application, there is a fundamental need for hundreds of docks, right? So let that sink in. Like, we need to really appreciate that fact that none of these customers are buying a dock because they just want 1 or 2 units. They are buying 1 or 2 initially for their POCs, for their proof of concepts, for their trials. But once that is successful, they ideally want to scale it to a few hundred docks, because that is where they get the real ROI. And that is what, like, that is what will benefit them, that will what will benefit everyone in this industry, right? So because they are looking at that sort of scale, BVLOS is very important, because they do not want to have so many people, each person operating a single dock and looking at the drone line of sight, etc., right? Because that is not very scalable, that is not very efficient. So they would ideally want everything to be fully automated and let the drones operate without having a human observer. And that is where getting BVLOS permissions, waivers becomes very important. And through software, we are able to assess them, get the right kind of logs, right kind of, help them build the safety case, and provide the regulators enough data to ensure that yes, everything is safe, right? So this safety case is to be built using the data from both from the hardware manufacturer as well as the software manufacturer. Everything goes into your into your BVLOS application, where you highlight that, okay, these are the safety features of the hardware, these are the fail safes designed in the software, and that is why this entire system and the operation as a whole is safe, and that is why you should give us the waiver to operate at scale, right? So this is an important aspect that we spend a lot of time on. Then data security. So I mentioned briefly, so most of the enterprise customers, they have their IT standards that they need, any new software needs to comply with, right? So that is where we have SOC 2. So SOC 2 is an important certification for enterprise customers. We have ISO 27001, and we are fully compliant with GDPR. So these are the basic basic kind of sanity checks that most enterprise customers will look for when you're deploying any software solution as as their enterprise product or as an enterprise solution. So Flightbase is compliant with these standards. At the same time, it's beyond this. So we have also designed a lot of safety features in terms of data security in the product itself, authentication systems, doing all kinds of encryption, making sure that all your links are encrypted so that there is no data security issue anywhere, as well as we have come up with flexible deployment options, right? So while our cloud systems are highly secure, they are compliant with all the latest standards of data security. At the same time, we also offer a fully on-prem air-gapped solution that is zero communication with the internet. This is again, while the standard cloud solution is quite certified and it's already very secure and everything, there are customers who would not stop there and who would ask you that we want a fully air-gapped solution with zero communication to the internet, and Flightbase provides that option as well. So that way we are able to cover the entire spectrum of data security concerns. So all the way to fully air-gapped solution. On-premise deployment, so I'll not get into the details. So by the way, I have my colleagues here. So Dheeraj is here. Dheeraj is the director of product. So he's the technical guy who is designing the product roadmap and everything, making sure that we are taking into consideration feedback from customers and designing the product and the features in the right way. So if you want to get into any of the details, technical details of any of these aspects, Dheeraj is the right person. Please get hold of him. Then next topic is workflow integration. So this again, I touched upon briefly earlier. So most of these enterprise customers, they do not want to use the drone and dock as a standalone product. They want it integrated with their enterprise workflows. So these enterprise workflows could be, for example, things like yard management system or video management system or some kind of emergency management system, IMS, right? Incident management system. So they already have some or the other such system in place, and they would like drones to become an integral part of that system, so that whenever there is an emergency, automatically the drone is deployed and they are able to monitor and manage everything from the existing dashboards that they already have for emergencies or incidents, right? So this is where having APIs and having a modular platform becomes very important. And again, we are happy to get into more details of this, but what essentially this means is that we are able to seamlessly integrate this capability of the drone and the dock in the systems that the customers already have. So we are able to build that link between that and this. Then enterprise customer support again is something very, very important for these customers because they are running a lot of risk on, or these systems are very, very critical to their operations, right? And if anything goes down, if anything is not working as per the specs, they want immediate resolution. So that is why designing the entire support system in a way that we are able to cater to their requirements and we are able to understand the kind of emergency or critical nature of this product for their use, that becomes very important. So we have an entire enterprise support team, and I have my colleague Vinayak here, is missing in this room right now. I think he's helping set up the demo, but Vinayak is here, who is the head of the customer success team. And again, if you need anything on the customer success side, customer support side, Vinayak is the person to catch hold of. I'll not get into the architecture, but fundamentally what I want to just share with you is that Flightbase platform or the software has been designed in a way that we can cater to different kinds of applications. It is not designed just for public safety or just for construction monitoring or just for security patrols. It has been designed in a horizontal manner where we have all the different essential building blocks for drone autonomy. And now we work with our partners to quickly mix and match the right modules that are necessary for a particular customer. right? So you can think of it like SAP, right? So, or you have other kind of ERP softwares where it's not a one size fits all sort of an approach. It's more like it's modular, it has a lot of capabilities. And now when a customer comes in and says that, okay, I want to do this and these are my requirements, we are able to work together and quickly cater an offering which is highly customized for that customer's needs. Right. So again, this is a very important aspect for enterprise customers because every enterprise needs a different workflow or a different way of doing things. And that is how Flightbase has been designed. So this kind of architecture allows us to get into different use cases, and each use case will have a very different workflow, very different look and feel to it. However, the fundamental platform that powers it remains the same, because fundamentally managing the fleet or managing the safety or managing the autonomy, those components are the same across applications, but the way that you interact with the application, the UI, the buttons, the options, those will be different for each application. So you can think of like doing a site survey, well, it will be very different from doing a security patrol, and that will be very different from doing maybe a delivery or something else. So specific applications would be very different, but the fundamental platform remains very similar. So let me also share with you how we think about autonomy, how we think about this industry going forward. One of the things that we realize as we think deeper and deeper about docking stations and autonomy is what happened 4 or 5 years ago, and what made kind of DJI the champion of this industry is they came out with Phantom, which was integrated with a camera. Right. Before that, drones were sold separately and cameras were sold separately. They were not an integrated product before the Phantom. So anybody who has been in the industry for 6+ years would relate to that. And one of the important game changers was when they started offering this as an integrated product, and it became so easy for photographers or for prosumers to just buy an off-the-shelf drone and use it out of the box for a variety of applications. And that is when even the commercial users started playing with that, with the Phantom. They started doing construction monitoring and all kinds of fancy use cases. So even the enterprise customers started using that because it was so convenient and so easy to use, and you could immediately get your job done. Now going forward, we realize that there is no point in having an enterprise drone without a dock, right? Because with a dock will become kind of a fundamental component of a drone. It will be sold with the dock going forward, right? Because wherever you need to use the drone, unless you are using in a very different location each time, so there will be some use cases where you want the drone separate from the dock or just the drone because you are taking it in your car and every day you are flying in a different location. Except for those use cases, by far, like the public safety use case. So typically, you need to fly a few kilometers around your fire station or your police station or something like that, right? Because you're monitoring that area, or you're trying to figure out where the car crash is or where the fire is. So you would install such stations, and at strategic locations across a city. And once your installation is done, now pretty much your entire city is covered. So you can think of a smart city sort of an application, or think of wind turbine farm. And in an entire wind turbine farm, if you have 100 wind turbines and you install maybe 5 or 10 of these units, you're covered. Now, whenever you need an inspection done, you can trigger it from your control room, and nobody needs to go in the field ever, or for your solar farms, etc. Right? So you can think of very large number of enterprise applications, which will inherently, it will become a no-brainer that if you have a drone, of course it comes with a dock. Or think of Roomba, your floor cleaning robot. It comes with the dock, right? You don't expect to plug it into a charger manually ever, right? The expectation is that it will clean your house, go back to the dock, charge itself, and be ready for the next day. So same will be the expectation with the drone, that it does its job, comes back to the dock, charges itself, and it's ready for the next mission. And that is how enterprises would use drones going forward. So again, this is something kind of important to think about, that we are at the cusp of this revolution. Today, it is looking like a fancy new toy, but very soon, in a few years, this will become the de facto standard or de facto way of deploying drones. And we are quite certain that going forward, every new enterprise drone will come with its own dock, like now drones come with their own set of cameras. Like M30 has a camera integrated, pre-integrated. So they don't want to leave that task to the user to find a camera separately. Right? The other thing that we would like to share with you is the concept of waves, right? So selling a dock is very different from sort of selling a drone in some sense, and in some sense it's similar, because for enterprise users, you would have noticed that when they buy one M300 or one M350, you know that they will come back and ask for 10 more or 50 more a few months down the line, right? So enterprise customers typically, again, no, they are not looking to deploy just one drone or one dock. They have a plan for something bigger, and they start with experimentation. They start with their POCs or pilots initially. And with the dock, it becomes even more important, because with the dock, there is a lot of solutioning involved, because no customer will just buy the dock and use it themselves. They need a lot of hand holding because of various reasons that we discussed earlier. They need hand holding in integrating with their workflows. They need hand holding with BV loss regulations, with data security concerns. So there are a lot of things where the service providers, we need to work very closely with the customer to make sure that drones or these docks are able to meet their success criteria for the POCs or for the initial trials. So initial wave, we call it like the low tide, and there is a mid tide, and there is a high tide. What it means is that when a customer starts, he'll only probably order 2 docks or 4 docks or something small, just as a POC, just as a trial. But that will take up a lot of our effort. And that effort is very, very essential. We need to work very closely with them. We need to make sure that all these integrations are done and the product is actually working the way they expect it to work. So it will need a lot of kind of effort at this stage. But once this is successful, once this actually meets their criteria, everything, they very quickly go to the next stage where they will say, okay, one entire site I want to automate. So I need 20 docks because I'm automating this entire solar farm, or I'm automating this entire a rail yard or something like that, right? So they will come looking for maybe 10 or 20 docks or something like that in the second phase. And once that is successful, they will say, okay, now I have 20 similar sites and I want to automate all 20 sites, right? So we are looking at kind of multiplier factors. So here we are multiplying by a factor of say 5 to 10, and again another 5 to 10, multiplication of another 5 to 10, right? So that is why I want to put a lot of emphasis on this. So right now, because we are just getting started with DJI Dock, almost all our customers will be here, and this is where we need to work very closely, make sure they are very happy, very successful, and it will feel like we are putting in a lot of effort for very little return right now. But believe me, like, unless we do this very well, we will never get here. So this is essential. We all have to be prepared for that hard work. We all have to be prepared for putting in that extra effort to make this very, very successful, right? And this will happen, and it's already happening, with us at Flightbase. I'm happy to share some case studies with you. Can we move to, yeah, thanks. Okay. Yeah, so sharing some case studies. So as I mentioned that we have been working with docks for last 3 to 4 years now. So that time DJI Dock was not there. We were working with other partners for the docking stations. And these customers of ours, they started with 1 or 2 docks in the beginning. So this was a customer who wanted to do inspection of their thermal power plant. So this is in Latin America. And for that, they decided to use a dock. So because they need to do it very periodically, they need to do it almost on a daily basis. So dock is a very good equipment or very good tool wherever you need to run your missions again and again over the same area, right? Because now you can just install the dock and you can run that mission again and again. So power plant inspection is a very good use case because there you have a limited area, maybe a few square kilometers, and you just install a dock, and whenever you need to do your inspection, you can automate it, you can pre-schedule your missions, or you can do it on demand, as well as you can integrate it with your incident management systems. So in case of any emergency, you can quickly go and take a look at what's going on there. So you can have like 2-3 use cases all bundled with a single dock. So this customer, they started with a single dock doing this, and as they became successful, now they are entering the next wave where they are saying, okay, now I need 10 more docks in order to automate this entire area. Similarly, this is another customer in Belgium. So again, no, they started with a single or a couple of docks, and this use case was public safety. This use case was emergency response again. And the idea was that in case of fire, as soon as you get an alert, can we integrate an automated drone with that alert system so that the dock is automatically triggered and the drone is deployed to the site of emergency without any human intervention. So as soon as you get the alert, automatically the drone goes to the site of fire emergency and you start getting live visuals from that location. And this helps you in better response. Now you know how many fire trucks are required, ambulances are required, because the sooner you get that live video aerial view, you are able to plan your response much better. So they started with a couple of docks, and now recently they won a contract to deploy 70 docks across Belgium, right? So they are one of the largest automated docking station deployments right now in the world. So I mean, it was a public news that they got a contract to deploy these 70 docks across fire stations in Belgium. Right. These are like some of the case studies where customers have gone from using 1 or 2 docks to some large number of docks. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, this is another application from Southeast Asia. This again, they started with a couple of docks for pipeline inspections. This is oil and gas pipeline, and they had the use case was where they wanted to integrate this with again acoustic system. So they have a digital acoustic system across the pipeline, along the pipeline. So in case of any disturbance, any acoustic signal, so for example, if somebody starts digging at the site of the pipeline or any kind of such signal, that acoustic signal is automatically transmitted to the control room. So they know from where the signal is originated. And now that has been integrated with the drones and the docks. So automatically the drone is deployed, and within a few minutes, you get an aerial view of that site, of that location, wherever that acoustic signal originated from, right? So this is again a very powerful application, because before this, what they had to do is whenever they got the signal, they had to send a security guard to go and check what's happening there, right? And you can imagine the kind of inefficiencies you would have, because now you're looking for a person who could go, and this person would maybe drive a car all the way 20 kilometers to look at what's going on in that location. All that is now fully automated, and you get an immediate view of what's happening in that location. So they started again with 1 or 2 docks, and currently they have plans to scale to a few tens of docks. And this in the future, they want to automate or have docks deployed across around 2,000 kilometer long pipeline. So every 50 kilometers, they plan to have a dock along that pipeline. Right. So I bring Scott back on the dais. So Scott,
thank you very much, Nathan. Some very interesting use cases there of autonomy. So using IMS and integrating it with a third-party system. So you have a problem, no worries. Flightbase can create a solution to overcome that problem and then mitigate any risk and also reduce your time. But if we're looking at the future of the drone industry, this is a topic that's really vital to discuss in terms of the people here in this room today and the people watching online. You're going to shape the future, because without your feedback, we don't know, DJI don't know, and Flightbase don't know where to take that next level. How can we develop it? How can we improve it? How can we reduce your overheads? And if we break it down into certain segments, we could start off with artificial intelligence. Drone technology now is limited because you still need to post-process data. The next stage we're looking at will be autonomous processing of that data. What happens if the sensors can automatically detect certain perforations, scoring, pitting, damage in certain surfaces without the interaction of a human? That's the next stage of evolution we would like to see. And that's the feedback we're getting from a lot of people. And I'm sure that DJI are trying to develop a system that will improve that. Sensors, as I mentioned, right now we're afforded some of the best technology in the market today. Is it accurate enough? That's the feedback we need from everyone in this room. Can it be improved? As I mentioned, can you autonomously detect through thermal variations in temperatures at a greater distance? Maybe if we could detect the thickness in certain subjects based on these sensors. Automation is key. So we're trying to remove all of the inaccuracies provided through human interaction in certain processes. How do you automate the process and post-process data without the need of that person delving through 10,000, 100,000 images, videos? The person may be tired, the person may be distracted, you may miss that vital information, whereas an autonomous technological development may stop that from happening. It may improve that process. And collaborative drones, we're now starting to see wave one, as Nitin mentioned. Wave 2 and wave 3 may require better automation and communication between those drones. So if you have a fleet of docks, how do they also communicate with each other? Maybe some docks will have transportation devices, maybe drone delivery. Maybe some will have camera systems, and then they will transmit this data to the next drone. So then they can build up a better network of information. You're limited to the hardware on each drone. If you have more flexibility, maybe they can combine that technology to better provide you a better understanding. And then more integration. I like to see virtual reality becoming more of a thing for drone technology down the line. If you're flying this aircraft remotely, why not see it as if you're on site? So maybe integrating virtual reality, so you see as if you're on site. So then you never need to be on site anymore. So these are some of the autonomous features we'd like to see going forward, and this is based on the feedback that we are getting from people as well. And I think we'll start to see this develop in the next 5-10 years as the dock system becomes more integral as part of drone processing. I think it's very important and powerful to know what Nitin was saying. This is the next stage of evolution in the drone industry because it's proven and it works. And we're very excited to have this technology here today to show to you. So what's going to happen next? We're going to have a questions and answers session, but we're also, before doing that, we're going to quickly go through the pricing of the hardware. I'll briefly introduce Flightbase in terms of their pricing. And then we're going to do the live demonstration at our flying field at Sanad Academy. So first of all, the dock itself is $27,000 US, and that is the dock with the drone as you see right now. But you do require to have maybe some extra batteries for longevity of use. The remote control if you want to interface with that dock, maybe perform software updates if you want to be on site, and also a charging station for the extra batteries just to manage them whilst they're not with the dock. This is our recommended package for the current Matrice 30T dock system, total of around $32,000 or 118,000 dirham. You would expect it to be a lot more expensive for what this technology offers. I think it's good value for money in terms of how it works. We've been in the testing phase with this solution for the last 3-4 months. It's been hard work. It hasn't been perfect, but we're getting to the stage now where it's much more reliable, much more dependable. And that's through the mistakes that have been made and the errors that have been detected. So through hard work, hopefully this technology will be to the point where it is foolproof. But that's also going to be our work together with you here today. For those people that want to deploy this as part of their offerings, it will take hard work. It will need integration with the client's systems in order for it to be easier down the line. In terms of Flightbase, Nitin mentioned they have varying packages, right? So Nitin, do you want to briefly go through the packages that you have on offer? Sure. You need to unmute yourself.
Hello. Yeah. So for Flightbase, there is a baseline package that we offer. That is a baseline software with the cloud that has a standard kind of end customer pricing of around $6,000 per annum. So our pricing is a subscription model, like for the cloud offering as well as for the on-prem offering. It's on a per dock per year basis. So whatever number of docks are there and however number of years you want to get the subscriptions for. So pricing is kind of increases with that, or it goes with that, scales with that. But besides the baseline product, now there are a number of add-ons or other capabilities that the customers would look for, like these integrations or various things that we discussed, and that needs to be customized, or it needs to be created based on the customer requirements. So we are happy to again work with you and understand what the customer requirements are and create a package that is suitable for that customer. Again, the pricing that I mentioned is for the base layer, and this is the kind of a customer suggested customer pricing. Of course, there are bulk discounts and there are volume as well as term discounts, and happy to again discuss that along with TDC.
Very much. I think it's important to know that it will be bespoke depending on the person you speak to or the client's offering. But what we will do through time is we'll build a better commercial package through scenario-based discussions. So pricing will become more standardized as time progresses based on those use cases, because right now it's new technology. Okay, so this part of the session will be any questions that anyone in the audience today has to ask us. I don't know if anyone does have any other questions they would like to ask. What we're doing now is we're preparing for our flights at Sanad. I might have some questions online as well if anyone wishes to ask those questions, sorry. Okay, so I'll run through. Is anyone in this audience got any questions they'd like to ask right now? No? Well, good. So I've got some online. Hi, I'm Ashraf from Malaysia. Can you discuss on how the system can be an effective solution for maritime critical infrastructure security, such as oil rigs? Okay, so we have actually been in discussion with a few clients basing these dock systems offshore. If you have a permanent internet connection and you have a permanent power source, this can be placed in an offshore rig for the same end use or use cases onshore. So whether it's offshore or whether it's onshore, you just need internet and you just need power. And then you can set the system up autonomously. Thanks to the IP55 rating on this system, it can be used in these certain environments. I hope that answers your question. I've got a question from Hadi as well. Can a dock be placed on a movable vehicle and be fully operated? So, for example, a VIP convoy security. That's a very good question. To date, we haven't operated it as a moving object. Again, it's needing a power source. It's also needing an internet source as well. In theory, that might be possible. We might trial that and see if it is possible. Right now, we prefer to have the stability of RTK on this system. And I think the concept of it being on a movable vehicle is possible as long as that vehicle may be static at time of takeoff and then landing as well. So that's a very good question. And that's something maybe we could consider as time progresses. Excuse me. Any other questions, anyone? I'm sure someone, Amro.
Applications that maybe we can put the system in we throw it in a remote area like borders or something like this. Depending on the power and the internet connection, can we use solar? This is number one for the power. And the second one, can we use the satellite connection, such as Starlink, for instance?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's down to the bandwidth that's required in order to operate it. Yeah. Depends on its power capabilities. So typically we would consider, if you are using solar, you need to have a consistent power supply as well and during operations. And if there is any mitigating circumstances, a solar panel could be defective. There could be a sandstorm. It might go dark. Then you're losing that reliability. But the benefit with this dock is once it has sufficient power, it does have a backup system. So anywhere up to 5 hours of power delivery. It's a really good question. I think what we need to do is investigate how big a power source could be. Yeah, it would be possible in theory. It would be. Maybe we could do a POC on that and test it. Yeah, that would be a good idea. That would be really interesting because it is a good question. If it is remote, how do you get that power supply to it? And that will be, again, the testing part. Yeah.
This is a very, very good solution to replace a human like soldiers, for instance,
I agree.
on the borders. So if we need to eliminate the human intervention when it comes to border security, maybe we can use this one, but we need it to be fully automated.
Let's do a POC together.
Yeah.
Let's do that. I think we need to test its capability. It'd be very interesting because you say the internet is the least of your worries. It's not a problem. It's the power source.
The internet is fine, but I mean the power supply is very, very important.
Yeah.
Okay, because the internet will do also streaming from there to the headquarters.
I've seen a use case scenario, I think, with the manufacturer, so I'll share that with you as well. I think they've considered this too. Yeah, that's a very good point. Okay. Let's see if we can do that together. Thank you. Please. This always happens. One person speaks up, no one's shy anymore.
So I understand that the drones are kind of synced up with the dock.
Yes.
But is there any kind of roadmap where you could have multiple drones, synced to the same dock? Why I'm asking is, if there's a backup drone and the drone is damaged, for a specific customer, then are they forced to, buy another dock with another drone? Because, there would be downtime for the actual drone to be repaired and, brought back to the actual, working condition. So is it possible to have multiple drones synced up to the same
So
dock?
right now, when you purchase this, it comes with that drone. However, you can rebind the drone to that dock. Right now, there is no fluidity. If you have 10 docks, can you integrate those drones to fly 7 kilometers and land on the other dock? Not yet.
Yeah.
I think we're getting to the stage where that's becoming part of the discussion. We might see that in the third iteration of the dock solutions. Inevitably, that will be the case down the line. You will want a network of docks. You'll want to be interchangeable.
Sure, yeah, where
Exactly.
one drone can land in a different dock.
Get that question all the
yeah,
time. Yeah.
Sure, but what about the fact that, if you want to buy another drone, with obviously the drones don't come, with the pegs.
You can, we have access to get those
Okay.
dock-based drones. So right now, we would need rebinding with that dock.
Sure.
If there was a scenario where there was an incident with that drone, we can manage that. And through ourselves and our dealer partners, we work a program to oversee the support of those docks. So if there was an issue, that's why you have, the network and us as well to support you. Right now, because we're still in testing phase, we haven't encountered that as an issue yet.
Sure.
We're trying to prove its worthiness as an autonomous solution. The next stage will invariably be, can we change the drones? Can we have them move from dock A to dock B and dock C and so on? But that's definitely going to be the case down the line.
Okay, sounds good.
Good question, thank you. Please, Ahmed. Don't worry, you can ask, there's plenty of time.
So the range is 7 kilometers, yes?
Yes, from that point of interest.
That is an RF limitation, yes?
So yes, typically line of sight, no interference.
Unobstructed. So
Unobstructed.
yeah, okay. So are there plans to support cellular in the future?
The technology is already in development with DJI. The latest Mavic 3 series affords the ability to attach a 5G connected device, which allows you to transmit the data between the remote control and the aircraft through a 5G network, not yet released, but there is capability, there is technology that is already doing that. We have worked with companies that have provided transmission through a 5G network. The whole idea behind flight-based working remotely gives that ability to work through the 5G network as well, or autonomously. But in terms of your question, answering that directly, yes, the technology is there. Is it developed directly with this dock in terms of the dock and the drone? Not yet, not yet, but maybe in the future.
Okay, and regarding flight-based, because in the presentation, it was mentioned that you were operating in different countries. Have you done anything here in the UAE? And what are the permissions regarding operating automated dock stations in the UAE?
No, so to the best of my knowledge, we do not have any dock deployments in the UAE yet, but we have in other like European regions and African and other places, not in the UAE yet.
Okay. Any idea of how would this be if we would
for
like
the
to-
regulation
the
side?
regulation side, yes.
So we are still like working with our partners to figure out the specifics of the regulation. But I think I showed on my slides, we are already compliant with regulations in 8 countries. In 8 countries, we have received BVLOS approvals, including in Belgium, in Ghana, in Malaysia, in Japan, and so on. And what we have found is that it becomes easier to get approvals in the next country that you go to. Once you are approved in 4 or 5 countries, it becomes easier and easier because regulatory concerns are quite similar everywhere. And it will be a mix and match of what we have already done. So once we know specifics that they are looking for, we should be able to quickly address that through our documentation.
One more question to Scott regarding the 400 recharge cycles. What after the 400 cycles? Is it a replacement of batteries or what?
It's going to be part of the training program in terms of the maintenance of that aircraft. Of course, all this information is relayed through the management system that's going to be presented to you. So you'll understand when those batteries need replacing. It will inform you. So typically every so often you will want someone on site just to perform an inspection of that dock, like any physical asset that you have in your business. But the idea is it's more autonomous because those inspections need to be less frequent than if you were to have a drone on site. In a direct answer to the docks that are currently in use in the UAE, we do have multiple docks and partners in this room are currently working with some of our public safety clients and are testing it right now. So there are some actually in use. not just with flight base at the moment, but that will be the case going forward. I hope that answers both your questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, I just remembered we do have some docks in Saudi though, not in the UAE, but in Saudi we have been working with our partners for docks. And one of our partners also got a contract for a large deployment for a smart city project in Saudi. So that is one success story from there. And we can find out the specifics if that is of interest. Like if Saudi is your area of interest, we can find out what specific things they were required to do in order to scale there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Fire away.
Yeah. So basically, I'm looking at from the perspective that you have a charging station, you have the dock station, and obviously some of the sensors on it, which are detecting the wind, probably the dust, and all those parameters. How do you ensure that they are all working properly or not? So whether those sensors are performing properly, whether the data that you're getting from them is correct or not. And similarly, all the transmission of data is happening over a 4G or whatever, 5G LTE network, right? So the data gets transmitted. Sometimes the connectivity is skewed, and we see then in fleet management also that comes into play, right? Sometimes the data gets transmitted and there could be durations when the data is not getting transmitted. So how, I mean, that's all part of the reliability, right? How do you make sure that the data that you're getting from the sensors is correct, and it could be a predictive solution forecasting from a forecasting standpoint as well.
So in terms of that, that's a very good question, because we've had a lot of issues in terms of the information presented by the drone through the testing phase, and version 1 we had lots of issues. The hardware is afforded by sensors that are on board. So before taking off, you do have a visual sensor. You also have a windometer. You have a temperature sensor. You have an RTK module. You are triangulating its position on each corner by using the interface through OcuSync. The drone itself has a control module which will inform the user whether there are any invariances or intolerances as part of the sensors. Maybe the inertia measurement unit isn't working, the GPS isn't configured, the RTK isn't working, preventing you from taking off the drone in the first place. And we had a lot of problems with that at the start. But through time, we've learned from that. Now, in terms of the actual connectivity of that aircraft, the variable is your connection to the internet. And that's why we always try and endorse a physical connection, because you're reducing the issues that would be incumbent because of 5G. So typically that would be part of the proof of concept. Would it work? Every scenario may not be perfect for the dock. If you want it remote in those scenarios, then you have to look at the variables. We're talking about using satellite connectivity. There will be variables because of that, but that's been introduced third party. The dock itself is a foolproof system at its current stage based on a permanent connection to the internet and a permanent power connection. When you introduce variables, you will get variables as your result. That's why we try and endorse, as part of your proof of concept, try and get the stability in terms of the connection and stability of the power, and then the drone won't let you down, the dock won't let you down. The majority of issues we've had is because of a lack of stability of those external sources. And you're dead right, there will be variables, but how do you mitigate for those scenarios? So that it does have a spare battery supply. If you do lose your power, you do have a backup generator. Secondly, for the internet, that's a really interesting point. The aircraft will return to home if there is a failsafe and loss of transmission of data. The aircraft will return back to that dock. So if you lose transmission, you've got no worries. And remember, it's using a smart return to home. It's using the collision avoidance sensors on that drone to mitigate any obstacles as it's returning. So it's as good as you're going to get in terms of technology. Will there be any failures down the line? Well, that's down to those variables. So the more variables you put in, the more variables you're going to get out of it. That's a black and white answer, I hope. Excellent. There's one question I'll answer online before anyone else in the audience. I am Daniel from Nigeria. Can a dock be placed in a remote area with a pipeline right of way with low or no internet speed yet? And is there an alert system for theft of the dock or tampering, let's say vandals on pipelines? We mentioned and we answered the first part of that, Daniel. In terms of theft of a dock or tampering, no, there's currently no fail safes, and that's a good question. I think in terms of the POC and where you're going to deploy these docks, security will be a necessary protocol. So you'll need to make sure that there is a fence around it, or potentially it is secure. If you leave this dock out in the open, yes, it can be tampered. There could be issues with it. Now, physically, it's very difficult to open that dock unless you know what you're doing, but we would always again, try and remove the variables from those situations using common sense. If it's going to be placed remotely, make sure it's either high up or whether it's secure as well. I hope that answers your question. Amro. If we can just give the mic to Amro so people online can hear as well, that would be great. Thanks. Cheers.
Regarding the security of the device or the dock, can you put it under the ground?
If you put it under the ground, you'll fail in your real-time kinematic signaling. So it won't actually deploy the aircraft unless you have an extension to it. Right now, there's no hardware that extends the RTK above ground. But if you want to store it, I'm thinking science fiction-wise, where it goes into the ground and store it, and then it comes out like Iron Man. That's a great idea. That would work. That's going to cost a lot of money to do that.
Like protect it from, if we put it in a remote area, maybe we can protect it inside the hole. And we close it the moment we don't use it to protect it from the smugglers or something like this. This is number one. Number two, when first time we introduced this dock, we didn't use flight base, right? At that time.
Yep.
So means that we can use a flight base and we cannot use it at the same time, right?
No, flight base is just another interface to work with the dock. You still have the ability to use the DJI interface as well.
Exactly. So we can use DJI, but the moment we go for flight base, we have an open source software to manage or monitor the dock station, which can be integrated with other third parties application, right? Because I think DJI is not like they have a limitation.
DJI don't have the ability to offer an IMS integration. This is where flight base come in, because there are so many different scenarios. This is their expertise. DJI are the experts in the hardware. Software typically is something that they will manage over to third-party providers, because Flightbase have built up a plethora of knowledge based on scenarios. So we would better say that if you have a client that wants a specific end use, Flightbase are the company to work with, because they can give it very granularly. Whereas the DJI system is, again, cloud. It's only cloud as well. And we know in this region, that's a big question for many of our clients.
The frequency or the transmission between the dock and the drone can be jammed?
Theoretically, yes, any signal can be jammed, but it's encrypted. So you can't interface with the aircraft. It's 256-bit. Also, if the aircraft were to be lost for any scenario, you can't decrypt the information on that micro SD card. So that can fall into the wrong hands. They can't see the data. The drone is useless. It's ineffective because you can only access that data through your account, which is encrypted online, which is perfect. So that's a common question. DJI have created that interface to prevent that from happening. It's very safe. Smashing. Any other questions, please? Didn't expect this many questions.
For programming if we want to execute a mission or anything, so from the software, are you programming the docks itself or the drone? So you have to send command for saving any missions that already have been done. So in the software, are you sending the commands? I believe that for the end user, you have to send the command for the docks, then the docks send the action to the drones to execute the mission.
So your question is, are we sending that interface? I'll quickly answer in terms of the DJI interface, and then Nitin can talk about Flightbase. When you're sending that information to the dock, it's as if you have a remote control. So if you're creating a flight plan, that's interfacing between the remote control and the aircraft. So individual to that aircraft. That would be the same with the dock. So it's no different to a pilot operating the remote control, creating the flight plan that's stored on board the aircraft, and it's stored on board your account. So thanks to this solution and thanks to Flightbase, if you create a flight plan algorithm that's stored on the cloud, and any pilot can access that algorithm and then deploy it. So plan it once, you don't need to plan it again, essentially. I hope that answers your question in terms of DJI. Nitin, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, because already in the DJI M300, already you can plan in the flight controller and you can save the mission itself. But what the difference between you save it in the docks itself, you can program it like using the laptops or anything else, any software, not using the flight controller itself.
Okay, third-party access to it.
If I don't want to use the flight controller, I want to use the software itself. So
Yes.
I can save the missions that I already created.
Yes.
And just sending to start their mission.
Yes.
So I don't want to be in the field like near the docks.
No, you don't need
So
to.
far in the
Exactly.
office.
You can do that in the comfort of your
In
office.
the office, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Dheeraj is the domain expert. If I can borrow your mic, I'll request Dheeraj to provide you a bit like detailed explanation.
Yeah, so basically, like with Dock, you don't need a remote pilot or a pilot with the Dock. So all that you have to use this dashboard, like we'll be showing a demonstration here as well. So we'll be flying a drone from Sana. That's like about 20, 30 kilometers from. Yes. Yeah, so that's far out there. There's no pilot. There's a guy sitting there, but just looking at a dock, doing nothing. And from the dashboard, you can like create your missions, save those, and execute those missions whenever you want. You don't need a RC at all. You need the RC only to configure it once, maybe when you're deploying in the field, and then you can bring that RC home, and that system works without any RC. So the live stream you can have on your dashboard. The data captured by the drone, it is sent to the dock, and then from dock, it goes to your cloud account. So all the media that you capture, high quality images, videos, they will come in your cloud account, and you can just download from there. All of that is solved. So basically, that is the purpose of autonomy. That is the beauty of this system. So you don't need to go in field once you deploy it. That's the thing, because you don't need a person there. That's the whole essence behind having a dock. So all the operation, particularly charging the drone, setting up the drone, then after the flight, fetching the memory card, uploading the data, all of that is automated. And like, even if there is a lack of connectivity, for example, internet goes down, the dock has those images synced on the memory itself. And whenever the internet is available, it will upload it. So even if you have a momentary lack, like loss of internet connection, that doesn't matter. The flight will happen automatically anyway. And the data will be uploaded whenever there is an internet connection available next. So that kind of, makes sure that your data goes to cloud.
Perfect. I don't need two mics. One's enough. We've got a question online before I answer your question, guys. Mohammed asks, are you going to find a way to prevent the drone from being fired in country borders? And smuggling groups can hit and fire the drone. I think we answered that question before. Also, can be used in dark, and can the camera get heat photos? Any feature to use AI to flight simulation, like automatic pilot driving the drone? So in answer to the second question, can it be used in the dark? Yes, it can. It has thermal. It also has a night sensor. So the first person view camera that sends the information to the dock is perfect for low light use. So it can be used 24/7. And remember, the IP dust, water, ingress protection is not limited to day or night. The thermal camera will work at night as well. So yes, it can be used discreetly at night. Any feature used to AI, to flight simulation, automatic pilot driving the drone. This is an autonomous solution, Mohammed. So when you're using this aircraft, you can select pre-planned flight routes, or when we were discussing, Nitin was talking about use cases with IMS, you could have a client that has an oil and pipe gas line and an oil and gas pipeline. And essentially it might have an alert. That alert triggers the drone to autonomously fly to that situation, then detect the scenario and automatically record. That can be pre-programmed. So yes, that is a possibility. But flight simulation in terms of operating this drone, we discussed about future capability, virtual reality, that's yet to happen. I hope that answers your question.
All right, now I'm going to ask from an integrator point of view, probably for flight-based. Now, as an integrator, of course, you are tasked with practical implementation, yeah, and ensuring easy, seamless integration. Now, my question will be, I wrote down a couple, right? So how do you provide the updates? For example, if we were to use one of your packages, the updates of the software and how it will implicate on the existing one. I understand there's an account you need to have maybe online, or how would you task that?
So sure. So the question is around updates. How do we provide updates to the customer? So there are two scenarios. One is the cloud. So cloud-based system is of course maintained by us and it is always updated. We have regular like updates and so on. So every couple of weeks we have some new features being released or some updates being pushed and it automatically becomes available to all the users of the cloud software. So cloud is sorted. The only challenge is with the on-premise, especially the air-gapped solution where there is no connectivity with the internet. And that is where we need to work with our partners, the solution providers, where we can, we ship the software update to them, but somebody from the service provider needs to go physically to the end customer location and update their systems. Because if it is air-gapped, there is no way to do it remotely. We have to do it physically on the site.
Okay, so in case there is an upgrade of some sort, will there be a loss of configuration?
No. So basically all the configuration or the customer data is maintained separately and all the logic or the software's own logic is separate from the user data. So user data will remain the same. All the previous missions, all the previous data logs, everything will be maintained as it is. Only the core logic of our software will be updated. So user data is not touched during updates.
Oh, all right, that's amazing. Now, you mentioned you have APIs.
Yes.
For example, if we have a software division, which we do, and we would like to tweak a few things, is there a possibility that in one of your packages, we can work together and help us in case we get stuck somewhere? Of course, you mentioned the customer happiness team. Yeah.
Yes.
What is the availability? Basically, working with clients, you can run after them for some time. And then when they commit to you, all they want is now.
Yes.
You understand?
We understand it fully.
So
Yes.
What is the availability? Is it a 24/7 thing? Is it a, I don't know if you understand.
Right. I understand. So there are different levels of kind of availability depending on the severity of the situation. For example, if our platform becomes unavailable for some reason, that is an highest level of emergency and that is available 24/7. But if some integration is to be done, it is not an emergency in the sense that I want it immediately, but I want it immediately means I want it in the next 24 hours. And in that case, because the level of severity or emergency is not that critical, it is not going to affect the operations immediately. It is just that customer is requesting for an additional integration or something. So that is serviced during regular business hours. Right? But we do have dedicated account managers. So somebody who will be in your point of contact, who will be communicating with you over email, over phone, over Slack, as well as WhatsApp. So we have multiple channels of communication so that whatever you need to communicate reaches our team on time and they are able to help you understand the ETAs or how soon it will be resolved or what we are doing about it. So there will be a dedicated person assigned to you who you can talk to.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions? Towards the back? 2 seconds. We've got a question over here first.
Morning, gentlemen. A couple of questions for you. One is, what sort of payloads can this drone take? If I have to put a laser scan on it, can it go along with the existing payload that is by default configured? Or do we have to remove some of them and then put this additional payload? And that is point number one. Point number two is that we discussed about the updates. Now, if we talk about the life cycle of the equipment, for example, let us compare it with the mobile phones. So Apple brings out 13 and after a while they want to bring out 14. So just because they want to market 14, they will push some updates onto 13, which will reduce the efficiency. So is there a similarity that we can draw into the system? Will that happen or will that not happen? That's question number two. Forcing us to upgrade to the next level, and we have invested a lot of money. We have brought some 100 docks and thereafter this happens. So what will be the periodicity of this, or should we be wary of this particular marketing technique or not?
Okay, I'll answer those first two questions and then I'll answer
Yeah,
a third if
okay.
you have it. So
Right.
otherwise I don't forget.
Yeah.
First one, fixed payload. What you see is what you get. But there is a module that allows you to attach a third-party payload. So for example, there is a gas detector from a company called Soarability, and that has the capability to be attached to the top of the drone simultaneously, and that will detect up to 9 simultaneous gases for the oil and gas sector. So that's available now. It works through the dock. That's one example. If you want to use a LiDAR-based solution, then there are other alternative docks out there which will incorporate maybe a larger matrice-based platform with a bigger payload. So I think that's more of a bespoke solution that you're looking for. This is better tailored for the end users I've discussed today, but it doesn't mean that it can't do it. There are other solutions. Secondly, Apple's model is a consumer model. And if we were to offer an update that would actually exacerbate a situation or make it worse, I would get lynched from people in this room to start off with, because I've got a lot of dealer partners here, and I know that would be the case. But secondly, no, any update that DJI provides typically will fix a problem and it will resolve an issue that has been reported based on the feedback of clients. So typically, every update we've received on this dock has improved it. Trust me, it has improved time after time. Only updates would be provided if it provides a benefit to the end user. And that update is not provided over the air as you're flying the aircraft. It's an update that is introduced to your control center, and it gives you the ability to update it, which is usually mandatory before you operate the aircraft. So, you know, it's not like the old days when you're using Windows and then suddenly there's an update and it shuts down whatever you're doing. There's a science fiction film where that happened. They couldn't, yeah, it ended the world. It doesn't happen for DJI. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. And 3 more questions for you. And the third one is regarding the efficacy of the RTK solution that you have. You said that, how does the drone communicate with the dock? Is it, you said the radius of operation is around 7 kilometers, right?
Yes.
So the dock can be anywhere. Like, for example, you're going to demo for us. You said that the location where the drone is going to fly is around 20 kilometers from here. So what I take it from you is that between the site of the dock and where we are sitting, the connectivity is through the cloud or through the internet. You're getting connected to this room.
Yes.
Through the internet and through the cloud.
Yes.
But from the dock to the flying aircraft, to the drone.
Using OcuSync 3, which is a standard transmission type. It's a kind of Wi-Fi signal. So that's communication between the dock. Imagine it being a big remote controller,
right,
and then the aircraft itself. It's the same concept. It's the same principle, and it's the same transmission strength as you would receive as if you were controlling the remote control. The only difference is instead of using that remote interface, it's receiving commands remotely through the internet, and it has antennas on each corner of the dock. So it's just a bigger version of it. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, right. So that answers my third question. So
there's more.
Fourth one is when you the RTK base station needs to be configured before we go out with a rover. So the base station, does the dock has to stay on top of the base station, or the base station can be somewhere close by and it will automatically transmit the first corrections to the dock, and the dock will transmit to the rover?
So there's no rover per se. So the RTK is on board the aircraft, but it communicates with the stations that are positioned throughout the country to provide greater accuracy. We'll probably talk to you in a bit more depth after this event about how that communication works effectively. Sam, actually, who's standing right next to you, could probably give you a bit more information on that through testing. So there's no rover per se that communicates in traditional sense, where you have the dock, so you have the drone, you have the remote control, and you have a GPS ground station. No, this is different, but we'll tell you about that separately.
Roger that. Yeah. Now the last question is regarding countermeasures. Like the honorable lady, came up with third-party intervention into the signaling. So can the drone be programmed to have countermeasures deployed? Maybe I'm thinking out a little bit strangely, but recently I saw MI latest movie in the
You're watching too many Hollywood films, aren't you? Yeah. I'm thinking flares firing amazing maneuvers.
There was a ghost submarine which was, deployed. So it can be actually treated as a countermeasure also.
It's not a military drone. The end use is commercial, not military. And if we start attaching flares, eyebrows would be raised, and I think it would be a bit of a hazard. No, there's no countermeasures.
No countermeasures. No. Okay, right? Because we were talking about somebody online asked about in the Nigerian context, will somebody takes away the drone, takes away the box. So what happens to that, and can we track it? I can actually draw experience from data buoys that are deployed in the oceans for METOC observations. There is a facility in that buoy sensor that if somebody, for example, a fisherman, drags it into his net and he takes it to his fishing village, the moment he switches on, immediately a signal is sent to the account holder that such and such a sensor has been located in this place, and then the police and the owners can go to that location and retrieve the sensor.
But remember, we're trying to find a problem which has already technically been resolved by the fail-safe solution on this drone. So again, a return to home function should the drone encounter an issue. This aircraft will actually fly in 3 propellers. It can lose a propeller and a motor, and it will continue to fly. It will also be able to lose one of its inertia measurement units, GPS systems, RTK, one of the batteries even, and it will return to home automatically. The system will notify you through your interface, and it will land back on the dock, and you're good to go. Should a scenario encounter maybe the loss of that blade and it needs to land in that position, you'll have the last verified GPS situation as to where the drone landed, and you should have a live feed from that drone communicated to the dock, so that then you can send someone on site as to where that last place was. But then if someone takes that drone and it's turned off, no, you'll only have the last location. But remember, the data is encrypted anyway, so you'll lose the hardware, but you won't lose your security. If that answers your question. You can't stop people from being people, but you can do the best you can from stop stealing your data. That's it.
No, why I was thinking about it was that we had a history of such a thing happening. One of our METOC boys, which we deployed, got caught. It drifted away and it got caught in a fisherman's net, and they dragged it back to the village, and they did not know what to do. Suddenly one boy switched on the device, and immediately from the reserve battery, it gave a signal back to the account holder's email saying that I'm located here. So immediately they could fly down. It was it drifted off and it went to another country, actually speaking. So
I think
if that is possible, it would be great, because in the context which the Nigerian guy online said,
I'm going to have to, I'll probably have a chat to you after this about how the technology works and why that really isn't a problem at this stage. And I wouldn't really want to be flying it too far offshore anyway. But I think we're going to have to call time in the Q&A session. I'm sorry, because we want to do our demonstration now. This is going to be taking place live at Al Asali. So I think what we're going to do is hand over the screen to the team who will be showcasing through the flight-based software control of the aircraft. So I'll just let the team prepare that now. Niv, if you want to change the screen over to the right one, perfect. Sorry, I'll answer your question, don't worry. Do it later on.
We're just setting up for the demo,
so
guys.
We are all set to do this demonstration for you. This is live from.
So hello guys, first of all, that's Vinayak. I'm a part of Flightbase team. I'm customer success manager at Flightbase. Few of us already know me. I can see familiar faces around me. Hi. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. So we have this demo live at TDC Training Center, right? The dock is already set up. You can see the live feed out there. So we have Dheeraj who will be helping us out with the exploration. I'll be performing some a quick test flight of the area, and I'll also demonstrate the post data, in-flight data, and during the live flights. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Vinayak. And I kind of forgot to formally introduce myself. I'm Dheeraj. I'm Director of Products at FlightBase. So I've been in this drone industry for about 12 years now. And I'm from a tech background. I have a master's in robotics from Georgia Tech. And then I was in tech for a long time. Recently, I moved to product, trying to understand what nice folks like you and your customers are trying to do with the technology and understand their requirements, shape our product to fit all your needs. So that's my primary focus. And coming back to our demo. So on the dashboard, on the left side, just, since we are here, on the left side, we would have all your drones. So there's just one dock right now, but yes, you can just add pretty much a number of docks. And then from that dock, there's a live stream here. And when I can do a launch, we can just, get right to the flight. And during the flight, I can explain more stuff. So Vinayak has already planned a mission, which is trial mission. So probably after the flight, we'll go into some of these. And I think we have a detailed workshop as well. So in which we can show around. So during this mission launch, can we go to the previous step, please? I'll just show a quick one. So again, launch. So here you can see that the finish action is written as RTDS. That means return to docking station. So you can decide what do you want to do after the mission is completed. And the ETA, that's calculated based on the mission that you're giving. Yeah. So this is a checklist that you can configure based on your customer's requirement. So in different countries, a lot of times the civil aviation authorities or FAA equivalent of FAA will mandate you to have particular steps in a checklist. And that becomes important step in getting the BVLOS permit. So sometimes there could be a manual inspection required using a CCTV camera, or sometimes it could be simply just look at GPS satellites. And these guys are just sometimes finicky about it, but you want to have a custom checklist. And that's whenever you have such a requirement, you can reach out to our team and we can configure that for you. So right now we are looking at everything here. So the dock temperature outside, that's 40, it's hot. There's no rain as expected. And wind speed is about 3 meters per second. So you can look at all of this. So this is a manual launch where Vinayak is launching from here. This system is automatically launched as well, based on an alarm, based on an event. And at that time, if there is no operator, system will automatically look at all this data and launch the drone only if it is safe. Otherwise, it won't. And it will, in future, it will attempt to kind of, try it based on the parameters of the configuration. Yeah, we can start. So now the mission has been sent to the dock. So the dock would be kind of turning the drone on. That is when all the data here will start popping up, because the drone is right now not on. We would see that the dock is open in the video stream. And we would have the dock drone online here as well. And they're just shooting the video. Yeah, because they're live. Yeah. Yeah. So we got the drone video stream from the main payload. And so in this widget, you can switch between different video feeds, just like you do on DJI Pilot. So you can do zoom or thermal, and maybe we can go into zoom. Okay. So that's it. When I could just launch in from here, we can go back to video, the wide camera. Okay. Now during flight, and this is live from Sanat, and the you can see the basic data from telemetry data from drone right here. You can see the RTK you can see the latency. A lot of times you need that operational data, what is my internet connection status right now. And you can see satellites are good. So during flight, we can take manual control. Let's say Vinayak wants to take a control right from the dashboard here. Vinayak, do you want to pause the mission and take a manual control? Okay, we can do that. So you can quickly switch between these different views. And this is more of a generic dashboard. A lot of times your customers would want to have something very specific which fits in their use case, maybe a pipeline inspection, or inner security, video management system integration. So even those integrations and those customized dashboards are possible for like different use cases. So here now, okay. Maybe we can take a pause in the bit in between. So we just took manual control from the drone. Now you might have to pause the mission, Vinayak. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now the operator has the control from here. Now Vinayak can move around. Maybe we can change the point the gimbal forward. Yeah. Just point the gimbal forward first, so that we can see how it is moving. Okay. And there is option to fly using this small widget here on the bottom, or you can do it from the keyboard, or you can even have a PS4 joystick. Like there are multiple different varieties of joysticks that we support, and depending on your customer's use case, they can have one in their control center. This is the keyboard layout. Like a lot of our customers are like quite like familiar with this. They don't use joystick at all now. They like keyboard, like playing games. So these are different joysticks. So I think this is PS4 or Xbox. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, maybe we can do a yaw here so that we can better see that that's moving right there in the video stream. And now we can, let's say like you are in the flight and there's an emergency. So I will show during the workshop in detail how our workflow integration works. So for example, there is an alarm and you want to launch a drone to a different location. Maybe Vinayak, can we do a go to location somewhere here? I hope it is safe to fly around here. Sam? Yeah, okay. So we can just send a go to location here. So during flight, if you want to urgently go to another location, you can just drop a location and altitude is 60 meters, right? You can set the speed and altitude real quick. And now the drone would start going towards that direction. And the wide camera won't change too much. Yeah, I think it's not that far away. Okay, yeah. So now the drone is at the other location, and we can again resume the previous mission that we were doing. Maybe, yeah. So now the drone would come back, and and in the meantime, while the drone is coming back, can we just show the payload controls? Like you can move around the camera. Maybe zoom a little bit. So this is the zoom camera, and so you can just click anywhere on the screen and the camera would point in that location for you. So maybe, yeah, just click there. Okay. Can we click somewhere on, I see a lot of towers. Can you just zoom in on one of the towers? So you might see that the video stream is not that like great as you would see on a DJI Pilot, but all the data that is being stored on the drone, that's the 4K or 1080p quality that you're storing, and that will get to cloud in high quality. And we'll look at that after the flight is done. Yeah, this is the thermal camera as well. Yeah, it's gonna land. Okay. So now the drone is heading back to the dock. We would see that live here as we, okay. Maybe can we go in cockpit view? Yeah. Okay, that's a dock there. Now that's a perfect example of a remote site that you would want to deploy at. Through Ethernet. Sam, do you want to comment? How is the dock connected to Ethernet? Internet?
Yeah, it's connected through the router. The router is connected to the 4G network. So we use the SIM card due or XLR. So you can see the black router there. So it's SIM based. It's SIM based.
Can we switch to the other way?
FPV camera. See the router.
Yeah, it would just kind of land, like, close itself. Right now, it is like doing some of the checks, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe during the, in the meantime,
go,
I
it's
can
closing.
show you. Yeah, that was closing.
Perfect.
So on the maintenance dashboard also, we will see all the videos right here. Yeah. Maybe we can like dive deep into this when we do the workshop. We can just go and quickly show the flight logs. Okay. Yeah, inside the dock, the drone would be on until like it finishes data upload. So it is the drone is actually sending the data to dock, and then dock would send it. That's just a technicality, but you don't need to worry about it. You'll get your data in cloud.
And we're just quickly to interrupt there. We're thinking of doing we are going to be doing a workshop with Flightbase, so we can run through the data sets. We can do this in a bit more detail again, and we can have Q&A if people want to learn more about how you can use that data and the type of quality you get from that data. So that will be taking place in a webinar style presentation, and then you can save that and you can share that with your clients as well. But very slick. I think we have to give them a round of applause, to be honest, because it was very well done. Thank you very much. Okay, I think that pretty much concludes our presentation. Right now, the guys are just showing the data that was captured. And if you want to,
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, perfect, excellent. Okay, I hope everyone's got something from this today, just in terms of understanding the hardware, the software, the integration, and the questions that were asked. Some very good questions. We're here to support you, discuss more for our dealer partners and how we can package this together. This will be something that will be shared with you, either already taking place or in the future. Anyone who's looking for this technology, please consult through us. We will give you support through our associated dealer partner network, who will be the local based supply for these products and also for flight-based software as well. But I want to thank everyone for coming today. Really appreciate you being a part of this new product and launch. And yeah, we hope this is the start of new things to come. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.